I'm Jake, 41M, and I've been married to Emma, 38F, for 8 years. We have 2 kids, Liam, 5M, and Zoe, 2 months F. Emma and I met in college, but we didn't start dating until a few years after graduation, when we reconnected at a mutual friend's wedding. We hit it off immediately, bonding over our shared love of old sci-fi movies and terrible puns. After dating for 2 years, we got married in a small ceremony in Emma's parents' backyard. Emma's dad, Charlie, 65 Mem, is generally a great guy. He's always been supportive of our relationship and loves spending time with Liam. Charlie's a retired high school science teacher with a passion for astronomy. Some of my favorite memories are of him teaching Liam about the constellations during summer camping trips. However, Charlie has a history of choosing, let's say, challenging partners. His marriage to Emma's mom, Carol, ended when Emma was in high school. Since then, he's had a string of relationships that always seem to end badly. Emma and her siblings, Mark, 40M, and Lisa, 35F, have joked that their dad has a type, strong-willed women who tend to bulldoze over everyone else's feelings. Charlie's current wife, Diane, 52F, has been in the picture for about 4 years. From the start, she's been difficult to deal with. She acts like Charlie is incapable of taking care of himself, leaving all the important stuff to his kids while she goes on trips with her friends. When Charlie had a minor health scare last year, turned out to be just indigestion, Diane dramatically announced she was too stressed to deal with it and left Emma to take him to the ER. Diane barely interacts with our kids unless she can show them off on social media. She calls them her grandkids online, but won't let them visit without us present. It's clear she's not interested in actually being a grandmother. When Liam was born, she came to the hospital for a quick photo op, then disappeared for weeks. She didn't even send a card or gift. Now, here's where things get complicated. When Emma was pregnant with Zoe, we decided to name her after my late sister, who passed away from cancer 5 years ago. My sister and I were extremely close growing up. She was only 2 years older than me, and we were more like twins than regular siblings. We did everything together, joined the same clubs in school, worked at the same summer camp, even ended up at the same college, though she was 2 years ahead. My sister's death hit our family hard. She was only 32 when she passed, leaving behind a husband and a 3-year-old daughter. The last few months of her life were brutal, but she faced it all with incredible grace and humor. Even in her final days, she was cracking jokes and trying to make us all feel better. Naming our daughter after her meant the world to me. It was a way to keep her memory alive, to share stories about her with our kids as they grow up. Emma loved the idea too. She'd gotten close to my sister during the years we dated, and she understood how important this was to me. However, Diane kept pestering us about the name choice. She'd constantly tell us how much she disliked it and suggest better options. We explained the significance, but she wouldn't let up. She even had the audacity to say, "Why would you name a baby after a dead person? That's so morbid." It took everything in me not to lose my cool right then. After Zoe was born, Diane and Charlie came to visit us in the hospital. As soon as Diane saw the baby, she started calling her Rose, Zoe's middle name. I asked her what she was doing, and she said, "I can't stand her first name, so I'm calling her Rose from now on." Emma politely asked her to use Zoe's actual name, explaining again how important it was to us. Diane just smirked and said, "I really can't do that. Now, hand her over so I can take some photos for Facebook." That's when I lost it. I told Diane to get out of the room and not come back until she could respect our wishes. I might have used some colorful language in the process. She stormed out, and Charlie followed her, looking torn and uncomfortable. Emma agrees that Diane was out of line, but thinks I could have been more tactful. Charlie wants me to apologize to Diane, saying I embarrassed her in front of the nurses. Emma's siblings think I overreacted, and that Diane was just joking around. Mark even suggested that we were being too sensitive about the whole thing. The only person fully on my side is my mom, Sarah, 63F. She was very close to my sister and understands how much the name means to our family. She's been a rock for us through this whole situation, offering support and even volunteering to talk to Diane, though we're not sure that's a good idea. I'm willing to keep the peace for Charlie's sake, but only if Diane agrees to use Zoe's name. Am I the asshole here? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. How is it okay for someone to completely disregard our wishes for our own child's name, especially when it holds such deep personal meaning? Some additional context. This isn't the first time Diane has been insensitive about family matters. When we announced Emma's pregnancy with Liam, Diane's first response was to ask if we were sure we were ready for kids. At our wedding, she made a snide comment about Emma's dress being a bit young for her. She seems to have a talent for saying the wrong thing at the worst possible moment. Charlie has always been a great father-in-law, and I value our relationship. That's why this situation is so difficult. I don't want to create a rift between him and his grandkids, but I also can't stand by while Diane disrespects our family and our choices. I keep replaying the hospital scene in my head, wondering if I could have handled it differently. But every time I think about Diane's smug expression as she refused to use Zoe's name, I feel that same rush of anger. This isn't just about a name, it's about respect, family, and honoring the memory of someone we loved dearly. Emma and I are united in our decision about Zoe's name, but we're at a loss for how to move forward with the family. Do we stand our ground and risk further conflict? Do we try to compromise somehow? And how do we explain all of this to Liam when he's old enough to understand? For now, we're taking it one day at a time, focusing on our new baby and trying to shield both kids from the family drama. But I can't help feeling that this is just the beginning of a long and difficult road with Diane. First update. It's been 2 weeks since the incident at the hospital, and the situation has only gotten worse. I haven't apologized to Diane, and she's been on a rampage ever since. First, Diane started posting passive-aggressive messages on social media about toxic in-laws and disrespecting elders. She never mentioned us by name, but it was clear who she was talking about. One post read, "Some people think they can rewrite family history just because they don't like it. Sad." Another said, "True grandparents love unconditionally, even when their children make poor choices." Emma and I decided to ignore it, hoping she'd get bored and stop. But then, Diane took it a step further. She created a group chat with Charlie, Emma's siblings, and their spouses, purposely excluding Emma and me. In this chat, she painted herself as the victim, claiming I had verbally abused her at the hospital, and that Emma and I were keeping the kids away from her out of spite. She even went so far as to suggest that we were unstable and that she was worried about the children's well-being. Emma's siblings, Mark, 40M, and Lisa, 35F, initially sided with Diane. They've always been closer to Charlie and more tolerant of Diane's behavior. Mark, who works in finance and prides himself on being logical, told Emma we were being irrational and needed to get over ourselves. Lisa, a part-time yoga instructor who's always preaching about peace and harmony, suggested we all attend a family therapy session to heal our chakras. The situation came to a head last weekend at a family barbecue at Mark's house. Emma and I decided to go, hoping to clear the air in person. We left the kids with my mom, not wanting to subject them to any potential drama. As soon as we arrived, Diane made a big show of greeting everyone warmly, except us. She hugged Mark and Lisa, cooed over Lisa's kids, and even brought a special salad for Mark's wife who's on a new diet. Then she loudly asked, "Where's little Rose? I was so looking forward to seeing my grandbaby." Before I could say anything, Emma spoke up. "Her name is Zoe, Diane. We've asked you repeatedly to use her actual name." Diane feigned innocence. "Oh, but Rose is such a prettier name. I'm sure she'll prefer it when she's older. You know, I had an aunt named Rose who lived to be 102. It's a lucky name." That's when Mark jumped in, telling us to stop being so sensitive and let it go. He started lecturing us about how family is more important than pride and how we were acting like children. Lisa nodded in agreement, adding that we were ruining the family dynamic over something trivial. She even suggested that we were projecting our grief onto Diane and that maybe we needed to seek help. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I looked at Charlie, hoping he'd say something, but he just stood there looking uncomfortable, nursing his beer and avoiding eye contact. Finally, I'd had enough. I told everyone present exactly why Zoe's name was so important to us, explaining in detail about my sister's battle with cancer and how naming our daughter after her was a way to honor her memory. I talked about the last conversation I had with my sister, where she made me promise to keep her memory alive for her daughter. I even mentioned how Emma and I had discussed this name choice for years, long before we were even married. The backyard fell silent. Even Diane had the decency to look ashamed for a moment. But then she muttered, "Well, I still think Rose is a better name. It's not like the baby knows the difference anyway." That was it. Emma and I left immediately. As we were walking out, Charlie followed us to the car. He pleaded with us not to break up the family over this. He talked about how important family gatherings were to him, how he looked forward to them all week. I told him that we weren't the ones causing the rift. Diane was. I reminded him of all the times Diane had made Emma cry over the years with her insensitive comments, of how she'd never shown any real interest in Liam until she could post about him on social media. Since then, the family has been divided. Mark and Lisa are still firmly on Team Diane, sending us long texts about forgiveness and family unity. Mark even sent a link to an article about toxic family members with the comment, "Food for thought," clearly implying that we were the toxic ones. Lisa keeps inviting us to her yoga studio for a healing session. Charlie is caught in the middle, alternating between asking us to apologize and telling Diane to back off. He called me late one night, sounding tired and defeated, asking if there was any way we could go back to how things were. I told him I wished we could, but not at the expense of disrespecting our daughter and my sister's memory. Emma's mom, Carol, 64F, who's been divorced from Charlie for years, called us after hearing about the barbecue incident. She apologized for not speaking up sooner and said she's dealt with Diane's behavior in the past. Apparently, Diane had made some nasty comments about Carol at Charlie and Diane's wedding, implying that Carol was a bad mother for working full-time when Emma and her siblings were young. Carol's now firmly on our side and has been helping us navigate this family mess. My mom, Sarah, has been our rock through all of this. She's offered to host a family dinner at her house, inviting everyone, including Diane, to try and mediate the situation. Emma and I are considering it, but we're worried it might just lead to more drama. Sarah thinks it might help to have everyone hear the full story of why we chose Zoe's name, including showing some photos of my sister and sharing some of her favorite memories. We're at a loss for what to do next. We don't want to cut Charlie out of our lives, but we also can't keep subjecting ourselves and our kids to Diane's disrespect. How do we move forward without completely fracturing the family? Second update. It's been a month since my last update, and a lot has happened. We decided to take my mom up on her offer to host a family dinner, hoping it would help resolve the ongoing conflict with Diane and the rest of Emma's family. The dinner was set for last Saturday. Everyone was invited. Emma and I, Charlie and Diane, Mark and his wife, Lisa and her husband, Emma's mom Carol, and my parents. We left Liam and Zoe with a babysitter, not wanting to expose them to potential conflict. My mom spent days preparing for this dinner. She made all of my sister's favorite foods, her famous lasagna, garlic bread from scratch, and a chocolate mousse that my sister used to request for every birthday. She also set up a small memorial table in the living room with photos of my sister, including one of her holding Liam when he was born. As soon as Diane walked in, the tension was palpable. She greeted everyone warmly except Emma and me, pointedly ignoring us. Charlie looked uncomfortable but didn't say anything. Mark and Lisa arrived together, giving us tight smiles but little else. My mom, ever the peacemaker, tried to lighten the mood by suggesting we all share our favorite family memories. It was going well at first. Mark told a funny story about a disastrous camping trip from their childhood. Lisa reminisced about the time Emma taught her how to drive stick shift. Even Charlie shared a sweet memory of walking Emma down the aisle at our wedding. Then it was Diane's turn. She started talking about how she'd always wanted grandchildren and how heartbroken she was that we were keeping the kids away from her. She went on about how she had so many plans for little Rose, teaching her to bake, taking her shopping, all the things a real grandmother would do. I couldn't stay silent. I pointed out that she'd never shown much interest in the kids before, and that her refusal to use Zoe's name was the real issue here. I reminded her of how she'd missed Liam's first birthday party because she had a spa day planned. Diane immediately became defensive, insisting she had every right to call her grandchild whatever she wanted. She accused us of trying to erase her role in the family and said we were being selfish by insisting on a name that no one likes. Mark and Lisa backed her up, saying we were being unreasonable and holding a grudge. Lisa even suggested that we were dishonoring my sister's memory by causing all this family strife. That's when Emma's mom, Carol, surprised everyone by speaking up. She calmly but firmly told Diane that respecting parents' choices for their children was basic decency, not an optional courtesy. She shared a story about how, when Emma was born, Charlie's mother had insisted on calling her by her middle name instead of Emma. Carol said it had hurt her deeply, and she didn't want to see history repeating itself. The dinner quickly devolved into chaos after that. Diane accused Carol of always hating her and trying to turn the family against her. She said Carol was just jealous because she was a better grandmother than Carol ever was. Charlie tried to calm everyone down, but ended up just making things worse by telling everyone to get over it and stop living in the past. In the middle of all this, my dad, who's usually pretty quiet, stood up and silenced the room. He looked directly at Diane and said, "My daughter died. Her name was important to her, and it's important to us. You don't get to erase that because you don't like it." He then went on to share a story that even I hadn't heard before. Apparently, in her final days, my sister had made my dad promise that her name wouldn't be forgotten. She was worried that her daughter, who was only 3 at the time, might not remember her. My dad had promised to keep her memory alive, and he saw our choice to name Zoe after her as part of fulfilling that promise. Diane stormed out, with Charlie following close behind. Mark and Lisa left soon after, but not before telling us we were tearing the family apart. Lisa dramatically announced that she would need to sage her house to get rid of all the negative energy from this evening. After they left, those of us remaining, Emma, me, Carol, and my parents, sat in stunned silence for a while. Then Carol started laughing, a sad, tired laugh. "Well, that could have gone better," she said. We spent the rest of the evening talking honestly about the family dynamics and how we got to this point. Carol shared some stories about her marriage to Charlie and his pattern of choosing difficult partners. She told us about how, after their divorce, Charlie had cycled through a series of relationships, each one seeming to be with someone more domineering than the last. It gave us a new perspective on the whole situation. My mom brought out some old photo albums, and we spent hours looking through them, sharing memories of my sister. Emma talked about how welcomed she felt by my sister when we first started dating, how my sister had been the one to encourage her to go back to school for her master's degree. It was a bittersweet evening, full of laughter and tears. In the days since the dinner, we've received a flurry of text messages and calls. Mark sent a long email accusing us of ambushing Diane and turning the dinner into a pity party for ourselves. Lisa left a voicemail suggesting we all try a group healing ceremony to cleanse our auras of negative energy. Charlie has been calling daily, alternating between pleading with us to apologize and make things right, and venting his frustration at the whole situation. In one particularly vulnerable moment, he admitted that he was afraid of losing Diane, saying she had threatened to leave him if he didn't get his family under control. But there have been some positive developments too. Carol has become a strong ally, offering support and advice. She's even suggested taking a more active role in the kids' lives, which we're happy about. She's planning to start a weekly Grandma Day, where she takes Liam for adventures, while we have some one-on-one time with Zoe. My parents have been incredible through all of this. They've offered to host regular family dinners for those of us who want to attend, creating a new tradition that doesn't revolve around Charlie and Diane. As for Charlie and Diane, we've decided to take a step back for now. We're not cutting them off completely, but we're limiting our interactions until Diane can show some real change in her behavior. We've told Charlie that he's welcome to visit any time, but Diane needs to respect our boundaries if she wants to be part of our children's lives. It's been a challenging few weeks, full of difficult conversations and painful realizations. Emma and I have had long talks about family, boundaries, and what we want for our children. We've decided to start a tradition of our own, a yearly Aunt Zoe Day, where we'll celebrate my sister's life and share stories about her with our kids. We're still navigating this new family dynamic, but for the first time in a while, we feel like we're on the right path. We're focusing on the family members who respect us and our choices, and on creating a positive environment for Liam and Zoe. There's still a lot of healing to be done, and I'm sure there will be more challenges ahead. But we're taking it one day at a time, holding on to the memory of my sister and the love we have for our children. That's what family is really about, after all.